Picture this. I'm standing at the edge of my world, gazing out the window of our little city apartment, watching the morning light carve sharp lines across the rooftops. There's a quiet hum in the air, the kind that promises something unexpected if you listen close enough. My name is Grace. I'm 31, and for the past 5 years, I've been tethered to a man who could turn the simplest day into a whirlwind. William Harper, 34, is a force of nature, tall, with dark, perpetually tousled hair and green eyes so piercing they seem to unravel every thought I try to hide. He's got a mind sharper than a blade and a charm that could coax a smile from a stone. Me? I'm the quieter half, a freelance graphic designer who'd rather sink into a cozy chair with a sketch pad than chase the spotlight. But William, he's got a way of pulling me out of my shell, dragging me into adventures I didn't even know I wanted. I can still feel the rush of that weekend he whisked me away to the mountains, no warning, just a packed bag and a grin on his face as he said, "Trust me, Grace. You'll thank me later." We hiked until my legs burned, and at the peak, with the world sprawled out below us, he pulled me close, his breath warm against my ear as he whispered promises of more to come. Or that night on a rooftop, under a blanket of stars, where he'd somehow arranged a dinner just for us, candlelight flickering, his hand brushing mine in a way that sent heat racing through me. He thrives on crafting moments that linger, moments that make my heart race even now, just thinking about them. With William, the ordinary never stands a chance. But there's another piece to this puzzle, a shadow that's always hovered just at the edge of our light. Jonathan Reed, 35, one of William's oldest friends, carries a charisma that's almost too heavy to bear. Broad-shouldered, with a sly smile that seems to know too much, he's got this habit of standing just a fraction too close, his presence lingering like a question I can't answer. I've never quite figured out how to read him. His words are always polite, but there's an undercurrent, a familiarity that prickles at my skin. I catch myself wondering what's behind those dark, searching eyes, and then I push the thought away, because with William, there's no room for doubts. This morning, though, something's brewing. We're in our cozy apartment, the smell of coffee curling through the air as William leans against the counter, his grin already hinting at mischief. I'm sipping my mug, still half lost in a design project I stayed up too late finishing, when he drops it casually, like it's nothing. Jonathan and a few friends are throwing a small party this weekend, out at an old countryside manor, couple hours from here. Thought we'd make a getaway of it. That's how William left it this morning, with that spark in his eye that told me there was no saying no. Now, here we are, the city shrinking in the rearview mirror as our car winds through narrow country roads, the hum of the engine a steady companion. I'm in the passenger seat, my fingers tracing idle patterns on the window glass, watching the world transform outside. The late afternoon sun spills golden light through a canopy of ancient oak trees, their gnarled branches twisting like they're reaching for something just out of grasp. The air slipping through the cracked window carries the scent of damp earth, fresh from a recent rain, mingling with a faint, wild tang of moss and decay. Every now and then, we pass crumbling stone walls, half hidden by overgrowth, remnants of a history I can only guess at. They loom like silent sentinels, guarding secrets I'm not sure I want to uncover. William's in high spirits beside me, one hand on the wheel, the other resting warm and familiar on my thigh, sending a quiet thrill through me with every subtle shift of his fingers. He's humming along to an old jazz tune crackling through the radio, some sultry melody that wraps around us like a private memory. I steal a glance at him, at the way the fading light catches the sharp line of his jaw, and I can't help but smile. He's always been my anchor in moments like this, pulling me into the unknown with a confidence that's impossible to resist. But as the miles stretch on and the manor draws closer, A flicker of unease stirs in my chest. It's nothing I can name, just a whisper of doubt, a tightness I try to chalk up to nerves about meeting new faces. I shake it off, focusing instead on the rhythm of the road, the way the tires crunch over unseen gravel, the world outside growing wilder with every turn. When the manor finally comes into view, it steals my breath. It's a sprawling Gothic beast, all weathered stone and jagged spires, ivy clawing its way up the facade like it's trying to claim the place for itself. The windows glow faintly in the deepening dusk, casting an eerie warmth that doesn't quite reach the shadows pooling around the edges. We pull up the gravel drive, the sound sharp and grating in the stillness, and I feel that unease creep back, a little stronger this time. William cuts the engine, flashing me a grin as he steps out, but I'm slower to move, my eyes locked on the heavy wooden door ahead. When it swings open, with a low, mournful creak, Jonathan's there, his broad frame filling the doorway, that sly smile of his already in place. "Welcome," he says, his voice smooth as aged whiskey, but his gaze lingers on me a beat too long, dark and unreadable, sending a shiver down my spine I can't quite explain. Inside, the air is thick with the scent of beeswax candles and old wood, a heavy, almost oppressive weight that seems to cling to every breath I take. The manor's interior is a labyrinth of dim corridors and cavernous rooms, each one draped in shadows that flicker with the dance of candlelight. I'm standing near the grand fireplace in the main hall now, the heat of the flames licking at the air, casting a warm glow over the worn stone walls. The crackle of burning logs is the only sound for a moment, a sharp contrast to the murmur of voices that had filled the space earlier. Most of the guests have drifted off to other parts of the house, leaving me alone with my thoughts. Or so I believed. Jonathan's presence cuts through the quiet like a blade. He's been circling closer all evening, his movements deliberate, almost predatory, and now he's right beside me. So close I can feel the warmth radiating from him, mingling with the fire's heat. My pulse quickens as he steps even nearer, his breath grazing my cheek, hot and intimate in a way that sends a jolt through me. I can smell the faint trace of cedar and something darker on him, a scent that pulls at something primal I don't want to acknowledge. His voice is low, a murmur meant just for me, as he gestures toward the pendant hanging around my neck, a delicate silver piece William gave me on our 3rd anniversary, etched with a tiny star. "This is beautiful," Jonathan says, his tone laced with something I can't quite place. "It suits you." Then his fingers brush along the side of my neck, a feather-light touch that lingers just long enough to make my skin prickle, a shiver racing down my spine. My heart is hammering now, caught between discomfort and a rush I didn't expect, a dangerous thrill that coils tight in my chest. I should step back, put distance between us, but my feet feel rooted to the spot, trapped by the intensity of his gaze. Before I can find my voice or my will to move, the heavy door across the room creaks open, and 2 men step inside. They're tall, imposing figures, strangers whose names slip through my mind like smoke in the haze of this moment. One has a jagged scar running across his jaw, a pale line that catches the firelight, giving him a hardened, almost dangerous edge. The other has eyes so cold and calculating, they seem to strip me bare with a single glance, a piercing blue that feels like ice against my already overheated skin. They move with a purpose I can't decipher, closing the distance between us in a few long strides. My breath hitches as I feel their presence surround me, their hands brushing against my shoulders, my waist, in a way that's far too familiar, too deliberate. It's invasive, a violation of boundaries I thought were untouchable, and yet my body reacts in ways I don't understand. Adrenaline surging, a dark heat blooming deep inside me that I'm ashamed to name. My mind screams to pull away, to run, to find William and escape this suffocating moment. But I'm frozen, caught in a storm of conflicting impulses. And in that weakness, I let it happen. I let their touches linger. Let the forbidden thrill wash over me. And worse, God help me, I find myself savoring it. I've betrayed William in a stranger's home, crossed a line I never thought I'd approach, and the realization crashes over me like a tidal wave, drowning me in guilt and self-loathing. I turn my head, desperate for an escape, expecting to see an empty doorway, a chance to slip away and pretend this never happened. But instead, there he is, William, leaning casually against the frame, a glass of red wine in his hand, the liquid catching the light like blood. His face is unreadable, a mask of calm that terrifies me more than any anger could. My stomach drops, a sickening lurch, as I wait for the storm to break, for the hurt and betrayal to spill from him in waves. I brace myself for his voice to cut through the silence, sharp and accusing. But when he speaks, it's soft, almost tender, a whisper that chills me to the bone. "Go on," he says, his green eyes locked on mine, steady and unyielding, as if he's not just watching, but orchestrating this moment with a quiet, unshakable control. My breath catches in my throat, a sharp, ragged gasp as his words echo in my mind. Go on. It's not a question, not a plea, but a command wrapped in velvet, and I'm paralyzed by it. For a heartbeat, I hesitate, my thoughts a tangled storm of guilt and confusion, crashing against a strange, intoxicating sense of release. It's as if his permission has unshackled something inside me, something I've kept buried under layers of propriety and fear. My heart pounds so hard I'm sure everyone in the room can hear it, a frantic drumbeat against the suffocating silence. I can't tear my eyes away from William, even as the men around me seem to take his words as their signal, their touches growing bolder, more insistent, tracing paths along my skin that send electric shivers through me. Their hands are warm, unfamiliar, a stark contrast to the cold dread pooling in my stomach, but I barely register them. My focus is on him, on the way the candlelight dances in his green eyes, turning them into pools of molten emerald, deep and unreadable. There's a slight tilt to his head, a subtle gesture that feels like he's dissecting every flicker of emotion on my face, studying me like I'm a puzzle he's already solved. My body betrays me, responding to the intensity of his gaze with a heat I can't control. A pull that drowns out the protests screaming in my mind. I want to look away, to break this hold he has over me, but I'm trapped, ensnared by the weight of his stare. My mind is a battlefield, torn between the urge to pull back, to reclaim some shred of dignity, and the dark, forbidden allure of surrendering completely. What does it mean that he's not stopping this, that he's encouraging it? Is this a test, a punishment, or something else entirely, something I'm too afraid to name? Guilt gnaws at me, sharp and relentless, reminding me of every promise I've made to him, every quiet moment we've shared. But there's another voice, quieter but insistent, whispering that this is freedom, a chance to let go of the rules I've clung to for so long. I hate myself for even considering it, for the way my pulse quickens not just with shame, but with a hunger I didn't know I had. In the end, I obey. Not because I want to, not entirely, but because his quiet command is a tether I can't break. I let the moment unfold, the room closing in around me like a suffocating embrace. The air grows heavier, thick with the murmur of low voices, a chorus of whispers that seem to weave through the haze of my thoughts. The scent of wine lingers, sharp and bitter, mingling with the musky undertone of sweat and something primal that I can't ignore. The heat of unfamiliar hands is everywhere, a constant reminder of the line I've crossed, each touch igniting a storm of sensation that I'm powerless to stop. It's overwhelming, a sensory deluge that drowns out everything else, every thought, every doubt, until I'm nothing but a vessel for this chaotic, forbidden rush. My skin burns where they linger, a map of trespasses I can't erase. And yet, beneath the shame, there's a part of me that revels in the intensity, in the raw, unfiltered edge of it all. When it's over, when the others finally drift away, their knowing smirks cutting through me like knives, I'm left standing there, trembling, my breath shallow and uneven. The room feels emptier now, the shadows deeper, as if they've swallowed the echoes of what just happened. I can't bring myself to move, to face the aftermath of my own weakness, until I sense him approaching. William steps closer, his presence a quiet storm, and I brace myself for whatever comes next. But there's no anger in his touch, no accusation. Instead, his fingers are gentle as they brush a stray strand of hair from my face, the gesture so tender it nearly breaks me. I'm still shaking as William's fingers linger on my cheek. The warmth of his touch a stark contrast to the cold weight of guilt sitting heavy in my chest. The main hall is quiet now, the echoes of earlier chaos fading into the shadows, and I feel like I'm standing on the edge of something I can't quite grasp. His green eyes search mine, not with judgment, but with something deeper, something that makes my breath catch all over again. Without a word, he takes my hand, his grip firm yet gentle, and leads me away from the lingering ghosts of that room. My legs feel unsteady as we move through the manor's dim corridors, the flickering candlelight casting long, wavering shadows on the walls, like they're whispering secrets I'm not ready to hear. We end up in a small parlor off the main hall, a tucked-away space that feels like it's been forgotten by time itself. The door creaks softly as it closes behind us, sealing us into this private world. The room is dimly lit, just a single lamp flickering on a side table, its weak amber glow barely pushing back the darkness. The wallpaper here is peeling at the edges, curling away from the walls in delicate, brittle strips, revealing faded patterns of what might have once been flowers, now just ghostly outlines. The air smells faintly of dust and old leather, a scent that clings to the worn armchair in the center of the room, its dark hide cracked and softened by years of use. William sinks into it with an ease that makes my heart skip, and before I can hesitate, he pulls me down onto his lap, his hands settling on my hips with a steadiness that grounds me, even as my pulse races faster than ever. I can feel the heat of him through the thin fabric of my dress, the familiar weight of his touch cutting through the haze of everything that's happened tonight. My hands rest on his shoulders, fingers curling slightly into the fabric of his shirt, as if I need to hold on to something real, something safe. But safe isn't the word for how I feel right now. My heart is still thundering, a wild rhythm that hasn't slowed since those moments in the hall, since I saw that look in his eyes and heard his quiet command. The memory of it, of letting myself be swept away under his gaze, burns in my mind, a mix of shame and something hotter, something I'm afraid to name even to myself. I try to steady my breathing, but it's no use. Every inhale feels shallow. Every exhale trembles with the weight of unspoken words. William's hands tighten just a fraction on my hips, a subtle shift that sends a shiver through me, and then he speaks, his voice low and deliberate, like he's been waiting for this moment all night. "How did it feel, Grace?" he asks, his tone smooth, almost too calm, as if he's asking about the weather and not the storm that's still raging inside me. "In that room, with them watching, with their hands on you, how did it feel?" His words cut straight to the core of me, stripping away any chance of hiding, and I feel my face flush, heat creeping up my neck as I struggle to find an answer. My eyes drop to his chest, unable to meet his gaze, because I know he'll see everything. The confusion, the guilt, the undeniable rush that still lingers in my veins like a drug I didn't ask for. I don't know. I stammer at first, my voice barely above a whisper, the words tripping over themselves as they spill out. It was wrong, William. I felt trapped, like I couldn't stop it, like I betrayed you in the worst way. I hated myself for not pulling away, for letting it happen. But I hesitate, swallowing hard, my fingers tightening on his shoulders as I force myself to keep going. But there was this thrill, this rush I didn't expect. Like I was someone else, someone who didn't care about rules or right and wrong. And I'm so ashamed of that, of feeling anything other than regret. My voice cracks on the last word, and I finally dare to look up at him, expecting to see something. Anything that might give me a clue to what he's thinking. But William's face remains a mask, those green eyes of his holding mine with an intensity that makes my chest tighten. He doesn't interrupt, doesn't rush me to finish my confession. He just listens, his silence heavier than any words could be. Then, slowly, a faint smile curves his lips, not mocking, but knowing, like he's already seen every corner of my soul and isn't surprised by what he's found. There's no shame in feeling, Grace, he murmurs, his voice a low rumble that vibrates through me. Not with me. Not ever. His hand slides up from my hip to the small of my back, a steady pressure that pulls me closer, and I feel the heat of him searing through the thin barrier between us, reigniting that confusing storm inside me. Before I can respond, before I can even process the weight of his words, he leans in, his breath warm against my ear. Next time, he whispers, the promise in his tone sending a shiver down my spine. It'll be even more. My heart stumbles at that, a mix of dread and something dangerously close to anticipation twisting in my gut. I don't know what he means, not exactly, but the way he says it, calm, certain, like it's already decided, leaves no room for doubt that he's planned something beyond tonight's boundaries. I pull back just enough to search his face, looking for a hint, a crack in that composed exterior, but there's nothing. Just that steady gaze, pinning me in place, making me feel like I'm teetering on the edge of a cliff with no idea what's below. The night stretches on, but eventually, the weight of it all, the intensity, the emotions, the sheer exhaustion, starts to pull at me. We don't linger in that dusty parlor much longer. William senses the shift in me, the way my body starts to sag against him, and with a quiet nod, he suggests we head back. The manor is eerily silent as we make our way out. The other guests either gone or lost in the labyrinth of rooms. The air outside hits me like a slap, cold and sharp, cutting through the fog in my mind as we climb into the car. It's the early hours of morning now, the world outside shrouded in a heavy mist that clings to the countryside like a ghostly veil. Dawn is just beginning to break, a pale watery light seeping through the haze, painting everything in muted grays and silvers. The trees along the narrow roads loom like dark, skeletal figures, their branches disappearing into the fog as if they're hiding something just out of sight. Inside the car, it's suffocatingly quiet. The hum of the engine is the only sound, a low drone that seems to amplify the silence between us. William drives with one hand on the wheel, his other resting on the gearshift, his posture relaxed in a way that feels almost unnatural after everything. I keep stealing glances at him, trying to read something in the set of his jaw, the way his eyes stay fixed on the road ahead. But he's a closed book. My mind is a whirlwind, spinning with questions I don't dare ask. What did he mean by next time? Was tonight just the beginning of something I can't control? And why? Why? Does a part of me ache to find out? even as another part screams to run from whatever he's pulling me toward. The tension sits heavy in the air, an unspoken weight that presses down on me, making every breath feel like a struggle. My body is beyond exhausted, every muscle aching with the strain of the night, but my mind refuses to rest. It keeps replaying everything. Those moments in the hall, the heat of unfamiliar touches that I let linger too long, the way William watched it all unfold with that chilling calm. I can still feel the ghost of those hands on my skin, a memory that burns with both shame and a forbidden thrill I can't shake. And then there's William's reaction, or lack of one. His quiet acceptance, his whispered promise of more, sultry melody that wraps around us like a private memory. Ispravlenia. Sultry melody that wraps around us like a personal memory. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.